Welcome back everyone, it means a ton that you guys stopped by. In today's video I got a really interesting one. This build's really meant for 20 to 25 under. It really struggles 25 under in GMs in like Nightfalls with the higher modifiers, but any activity that don't really have any of these crazy modifiers that the GMs have and all these strikes have and stuff, you can run this at 25 or 30 under. So I really recommend, if you have these hard modifiers on, definitely run it in 20 under like in a master. But it does work really good for damage, and the damage can almost always keep up. The biggest problem is actually just the survivability. You can get a lot of abilities even if you don't one-shot most things, because the grapple melee almost always one-shots, even if the normal melee doesn't one-shot. But the thing that makes it really difficult is all the different changes with the resilience and how damage reduction works now, and this build just can't survive in 30 to 25 under and with hard modifiers. This build just worked perfectly because of how the double spawning of orbs work now. With using firepower and the melee orb spawner, it double stacks under grapple melee, so you spawn 2, which we could stack with some healing and some extra grenade energy on our boots. Plus, with the double orb spawn, we can get 2 charges of lights from each orb and get 4 charges from each kill with our grapple melee, which we can lead into our nether grapple melee and basically have infinite grapple melees. And with how we get tethers from grapple melees, we'll be getting a lot of tangles, and when we hit our tangles we'll get some more melee energy, which we can use for our high damage melees that'll be stacking with the syntheseps as well. This just was so much fun as a build. This might not be the greatest build for the hardest of hard content, but I truly had so much fun with this, and it was very intense. In harder content, if you're trying to push into those harder 20 to 25 levels under, you can get some really intense fights, and blinding nades come in really clutch, and it's just really fast paced, and you can get really good with it, and it kind of has a skill ceiling to get really useful. And it was a great build in general. This build I did test in the video. I should have a solo 30 under in the exotic mission, and then I have 3 people with me 25 under, and then I also have a little bit of gameplay from the legendary Nightfall, which is actually 25 under for that one. I just wanted to vary it up to see different testing grounds and how different modifiers and how in exotic mission things scale to how many people you have, so it's just interesting to see how different it is, because it's much harder to use this when there's 3 people, but it still worked very well. It meant a lot that you guys stopped by, and I can't wait to get into this build. Here you go, guys! Okay guys, for this build we're on Berserker with Thread of Warding, Thread of Fury, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Generation. So Thread of Generation is a major part of this. We're going to be getting Strand grenade energy from doing damage. We're also going to be running Thread of Continuity. This is just mainly for the extra strength, and that's the main reason why I'm running this. And I might have thought of something else to use on this, but the extra strength is really needed for this build. We're using Thread of Fury. This basically gives us a bunch of melee energy back when we hit a tangle. So good. I kind of got a comment saying not to use this in my last build for more survivability, but this thing just helps out so much because the melee can just give it so much of it back, and it's crazy how little abilities you have when you don't run this. And you can really notice a big difference. Thread of Warding is a big part of this build because we're going to be running heavy-handed and firepower. If you guys didn't know, these things stack together with the grapple melee, so you spawn 2 orbs. This is a crazy interaction that we're using Grenade Kickstarter and with the stacks on stacks. So when we pick these up, we'll get 2 for each orb, and then we're running charged up, so we can hold 4 at a time. And every time we get a grapple melee kill, we get 4 charges. So then we use Grenade Kickstarter to get almost all of our grenade back. Plus we're using Inventation, so we get almost all of our grenade back just in general, because it gives us a little bit more, and it double stacks because we're using 2 orb mods. And we're using the health when we pick up the orbs, because this is basically the main part of health regeneration we're using for this build. This is the only thing that allows it to be in master and 25 under content. Without this build severely struggles, but can be really fun in lower end content to just spam abilities. Lastly, we're using a Artifice boots are Artifice Cloak, and on the cloak we're running Bomber, and we're running 2 of these with distribution, so we get a bunch more of every single ability. So we'll get more grenade and a little bit of melee. This is just a little touch I added because I think it might add more than stacking 3 bombers, because there's diminishing returns for how much you stack. With this I'm using strength. My armor isn't the greatest, so you could definitely get to like triple 100s with this build, and that's the main goal. And I think this would make it much better in harder content and just in general, because those melees will charge back much faster, and I think it's almost like a 40 seconds faster than what it is right now. So this is just such a big change that you kind of want to try to get to, and might really change the build up and how I use it and be able to run it in some harder content. I'm running some hands-on for some extra super energy. I don't know if this stacks with Ashes to Assets with the melee, so it actually could give us double the super energy, which could be pretty crazy, because there wouldn't be diminishing returns because they're 2 separate mods. For our weapons, it doesn't really matter what you run, but a 1-2 punch shotgun could really help the damage out with our Synthoceps. This build really revolves around Synthoceps, and when it's not procced, this build completely suffers, and it's really hard to use, but the Synthoceps in harder content allow us to one-shot most red bars and even some orange bars in some case, and it's just completely just so good with this build. This might not be the greatest Strand build for hard content over 25 under, like GMs and stuff have those extra modifiers, and maybe if you're 30 under it won't work at all. But for most general content, master and under probably, or even some lower end content that's 25 under, it could really just work out well. And I think there's not that many activities that are that hard in the game, so this should work in most. And I don't think most people know about the heavy-handed and firepower combination spawning 2 of the orbs, and I really wanted to bring this build to you, and I was really excited to bring this to you, because I don't think anybody has ever heard about this, and I think people should know if you want to build craft. It meant a lot that you guys stopped by, and I'm really appreciating all the views and everything you guys have done for my channel. And if you guys have been here for a while, please leave a like. It helps the algorithm so much. We've been really popping off in the last few videos. The last video we had didn't do as well as the one before, but it just really means a lot. That guys helped me to 1,000. If you guys are new, please subscribe. I really want to try to get to some higher numbers, and it's going to be great. I really enjoy reading your comments and responding, so please put them down below. I almost always respond to them and get back to you pretty fast. So thank you for watching, and let's get on to this rest of the gameplay.
Okay, I'm with one. Took like half my health away. You can melt the tormentor with this thing. Somebody wanna grab that? Just hold it until we get to the tormentor. You'll be able to melt his spots off like super bad. Okay.